is up, everybody? Welcome to today's video where we are going to be reviewing Tucker Carlson's show where he is addressing some of the events happening in Ukraine. Well, let's get started. Well, I myself am Ukrainian, and because of a lack of trust on the internet, here is my Ukrainian passport, and I also speak Ukrainian. Добрий вечір. Ми з України. So, Tucker starts this video by saying that in these difficult times, they are on the search for people who love freedom. That's great. I fully support that. I love people that love freedom, that protect freedom and stand for the freedom. I am not in any way a proponent of banning any, so to speak, hate speech, saying that just for the record.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, one upside of the very sad war in Ukraine is the national conversation underway in this country about freedom and democracy. Those are words on everyone's lips. And so it set us off on a nationwide search for Americans who are living as if this were a free country, like it was, say, 1989.
Then he goes on talking about democracy, how in democracy, everyone should be able to voice any of their opinions.
Citizens can have any opinion they want to have. They can express any opinion they want in public whenever they care to express it, including through mass media. If citizens are dissatisfied with their political leadership, they can challenge their leaders for office.
And then he goes talking about Ukraine. Now let's just remember and keep in mind that Ukraine is in full-scale war against Russia. The cities being bombarded, there's curfew in the cities, people are in shelters. Lots of people, lots of children, women are killed. So let's just keep that in mind because the context matters, right?
These are not just features of democracy, these are prerequisites for democracy. So with that in mind, you should know about a political party in Ukraine called Opposition Platform for Life. With 43 seats in parliament, it is the largest opposition party in that country. Over the weekend, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyi, banned that party.
Now, I just want to set the record straight. It's not Vladimir Zelenskyi, it's Volodymyr Zelenskyi. I don't know why, but a lot of times I hear Americans pronounce Ukrainian names in Russian language. I don't understand why this happens. You're not Russian, you're American. So we should pronounce Ukrainian names in Ukrainian language. Now let's talk about banning the Oppositional Platform for Life.
Opposition Platform for Life is now prohibited from, quote, all activity within Ukraine.
So what really happened is they didn't ban the party out of existence. They paused the activity of the party for the time period of the martial law. And whenever the war is over, the ban will be lifted and the party will be able to continue their activity.
So with a single command, Zelensky made it impossible for anybody to run against him for president.
Now let's talk about this single command thing. That is just not true. It's not a single command of President Zelensky. It's the decision of the Council of the Security of Ukraine. Yes, the president is on the council, but it's like, I think, more than 20 people on the council. And important fact is that they made a decree, but now that went to court, and only after the court rules for the decree, only after that, the activity of the parties will be paused. Currently, the prosecutors at this time are preparing the materials for the court processing. So it's not a single command, not like this. President's like, okay, let's ban them, and they just ban them for life. First of all, pause, right? Let's remember that. And not just a single command, but there's a process described by the law which they are following.
So with a single command, Zelensky made it impossible for anybody to run against him for president.
Made it impossible for anybody to run against him for president? How does that even follow from what was said above? So I made some research, and it's not that even the members of the party that, they will be put to jail or they will be thrown out of the parliament. No, it's only the party that will be suspended temporarily. But just to add to that, there are 120 people in other opposition parties that are still in the parliament. They can freely speak out their position. No one's banning them. No one's putting them in jail. No one's persecuting them. Everything's okay.
He did this not just to Opposition Platform for Life, but to 10 other political parties that he believed were insufficiently loyal to him.
Insufficiently loyal to him. Now, what Tucker forgot to mention is that 9 out of the 10 other parties that he said are not even in the parliament and were never elected and are very small parties. I know it doesn't mean that, you can just suspend them. Of course, it's not a reason if the party is small, right? It doesn't mean anything. But I'm just saying it to the point that Tucker was trying to make it a big deal, like, that he basically killing his opponents, that he's banning all the parties. There's no opposition whatsoever now. Those parties are not a threat to anyone politically. So there's no reason to just ban them just to make some noise. That doesn't make any sense. Now, those parties are a threat to Ukrainian people because they were the parties that were spreading lies about Ukraine, and the cause of this war lies on them as well. And also, in some cases, they were collaborating with Russia, sharing, for example, videos and photos of the location of Ukrainian military. Now, again, I want to mention there's 120 people in the oppositional parties in the parliament currently. They are not loyal to the president at all. They were speaking out against him, criticizing him multiple times. Before the war, they would constantly say that he is not pro-Ukrainian enough. Now, after the war started, some of their doubts, went away, went out of the window, because the president showed that he is pro-Ukrainian, he is keeping Ukrainian positions, he's not going to back down.
10 other political parties that he believed were insufficiently loyal to him. They're all illegal now.
Now again, they're all illegal now. I want you to see what's happening here. Such a huge exaggeration. The activity of any of those parties is forbidden for the time of the martial law. So after the war is over, this won't be a case anymore. I just want to repeat that again. That is a huge exaggeration. And it is basically like deceiving your viewers, your listeners, by just saying that.
But we must tell you there is no evidence that the opposition parties he banned were aiding Russia in its war against Ukraine.
No evidence the opposition party was aiding Russia. In multiple cities, the members of that party were surrendering their cities to Russian troops and proclaiming their allegiance to Russia without any fight, basically betraying the soldiers that were ready to stand and fight and protect that city. In other cities, when the city would get occupied by Russians, they would put in power a pro-Russian politician, and surprisingly, those would be from the Opposition Platform for Life, one of the suspended parties. Ilya Kiva, the member of the Opposition Platform for Life, is at the moment in Russia and talking all sorts of conspiracies about Ukraine and telling how Russia is good and that they are protecting Ukrainian citizens and that they are actually peacemakers and saving people's lives. More examples of that can be found. And guys, this hasn't just started last month, okay? Maybe it did for you because now you started seeing all of these things, but we Ukrainians been seeing this since 2004, all right? Putin is the godfather of the party member's daughter, all right? Just think about it.
Opposition Platform for Life, for example, denounced the Russian invasion the moment it happened, just like everybody else. But Zelensky took the opportunity to turn Ukraine into effectively a one-party state, which it now is.
Dude, what are you smoking?
What are you smoking?
120 people in other opposition parties are currently in the parliament. How is that a one-party state? The thing is that all of those members of those parties are pro-Ukraine and they are for the independence of Ukraine. So they all stand united right now at this moment, though politically they were huge enemies. But you, of course, want to focus on finding something negative in this situation. More than that, I repeat again, the decision is up to a court. It's not banning the party, it's suspending the activity of the party for the time of the martial law. Tucker, it's not like it's a Wild West in Ukraine. They're doing what is permissible by the law. They're not even changing constitution. They're not changing laws. They're following the law.
So having banned all opposition, he then seized control of the country's media outlets. Zelensky signed a decree that combines all national television channels into a single platform that he controls. He described this as a, quote, unified information policy, and it certainly is unified.
Now, he says that Zelensky has signed a decree to join the channels into one platform. On the video, though, they're showing that the channels were shut down. And then also he's throwing in there that that platform is controlled by the president in some way. Well, that is just not true. What the president decreed is just to create a single stream of channels, and that stream was actually formed even before he did that. Since the first day, multiple national channels from different companies formed a single stream of news. It's just easier for them to cover all the events 24/7 and easier for people to just tune in to the same stream. It is important to note that there are still multiple channels on that stream, and then every news channel still streams on YouTube and other platforms separately. 2 channels on that stream are owned by Poroshenko, the former president, the main opponent of Zelensky on the past elections.
Zelensky has been solidifying complete control over Ukraine for a long time, since long before the Russian invasion and the war.
Well, what are the facts? What are the facts, Tucker? How was Zelensky solidifying power? These are just bogus statements. I was thinking about that, but for me, it's even hard to dispute that because there are no facts set.
Last year, he had his main political opponent arrested and his assets seized by the state. At the same time, Zelensky shut down 3 of Ukraine's most popular television networks, channels that, not coincidentally, had criticized him.
So about the political opponent, I don't know what he is talking, but I assume that it's the case about Petro Poroshenko. What Tucker doesn't tell you is that that opponent, Poroshenko, is not in jail. He wasn't arrested, but he is still in parliament, and actually right now, at the moment when the war is actively going, he is doing his political activity. Now, that case was about Poroshenko sabotaging the coal import from South Africa and instead making a deal with Russia and importing the coal from the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. That case was about treason and financing terrorism. Since the people on the occupied territories who work with Russian government are considered to be terrorists by us Ukrainians. As of today, the case is not over, but also it is important to notice that this issue was actually the main reason why the former president wasn't re-elected, because of the strong concerns of corruption.
At the same time, Zelensky shut down 3 of Ukraine's most popular television networks, channels that, not coincidentally, had criticized him.
3 of Ukrainians' most popular news network channels. First of all, popularity, questionable thing. I never watched these channels, and I lived in Ukraine during that time. My friends didn't watch these channels. The problem with the channels was that there was a point in time where the channels were bought by the oligarchs that were related to Russia. And immediately, the channels started to push the narrative for Russia. They were speaking good about Russia. They were again trying to talk about joining Russia, working with Russia. Actually, a lot of workers on these channels left after the management changed. So that's something for you to think about.
So how should we as Americans assess this?
How should Americans assess that? I would want you to really think about this situation because, yes, again, as I mentioned, I am a huge proponent of free speech. But I think what we are missing in this situation when we're discussing this is that Ukraine is at war and Russia fully attacked Ukraine and invaded Ukraine. Now think about it, the US is at war with Russia. how would you treat the situation when you have organizations in the US that are actively pro-Russian, and then you also have cases and you have proofs when the people are sharing the information with Russia, when the US cities are being bombarded, people are being killed, soldiers are being killed, women and children are being killed? Would you say, yeah, they should have a right to speak against the sovereignty of the US? They should be able to freely share the information, in this case with Russia, even if it's directly causing harm to the US population and to the US nation. Just think about it. Put yourself in that situation.
And with that concern in mind, you should be very worried by your leader's response to what's happening in Ukraine, the growing dictatorship there. And that's the word for it. What's another word for it? If you have ideas, send it to us.
What's another word for it? Well, I don't know. Maybe acting based on the martial law to protect the national security and the citizens? More than that, Zelensky, before he was running for the president, said that he's there for only one term. So I don't think there's like a clear cut, you can say, oh, he's just hungry for power. He's a dictator.
The United States cannot be a beacon of freedom, of light in the world, if we are not free. So that's the first thing we do if we want to inspire and change the world.
In order to inspire and change the world, you also should be a beacon of truth. So you can't just share things like these and say, well, Ukraine is, it's just authoritarianism, just based on a bunch of things that you Googled and just first read. You have to support the countries that are fighting for their freedom. Dude, there's an active war right now in Ukraine. And still people like the president, the parliament, the ministers, everyone, they are living by the law. They are doing whatever is prescribed by the constitution of the country.
On the very same day that Zelensky shut down opposition media and all opposition political parties.
Again, just want to make sure that we all notice this. He said all opposition parties and all opposition channels. That is just a blatant lie. No one did that. There are still opposition parties and there are still opposition channels. Again, like 2 channels that I can name you off top of my head. Пятый канал and Перший. Those are 2 channels owned by the former president Poroshenko. Still streaming their news, no blocks, no bans, they're still working.
And again, on one level, you can understand why people are whipped into an emotional frenzy when they talk about Ukraine. Why wouldn't they be? Russia's invasion of Ukraine was shocking. It was wrong. The suffering of civilians there is entirely real. We're watching it on TV. It's horrifying. So it's entirely natural to root for the Ukrainians to expel the invaders. And obviously, we are rooting for them to expel the invaders, Russia.
And I'm deeply thankful to every American that's doing that. Thank you for the support for our country. And thank you for all the help that you are sending.
But just because what Russia has done in Ukraine was wrong doesn't mean you have to lie about the Ukrainian government.
Right, Tucker. It doesn't mean that you have to lie about the Ukrainian government, like saying that he banned any opposition.
So again, Ukraine was invaded by its neighbors, and we oppose that. We should oppose that. But that doesn't mean Ukraine is a democracy. It's not. And we shouldn't tell Americans it is, because that's a lie.
How is Ukraine not a democracy? Okay, literally everything he spoke about here was made by a legitimate government, elected by a majority, acting based upon a legitimate constitution and laws of the land. The president is not just acting like Putin or president of Belarus, Lukashenko, doing whatever they want, changing the constitution, etc. His actions are supported by the nation. Even the questions about the agreements made on the negotiation process with the Russian side, Zelensky wants to put on the referendum. He wants the people to have a say. He wants to do it the right way. He knows what happens if the president doesn't listen to their nation, especially in Ukraine.
we should tell the truth. But virtually no one is telling the truth. Everyone is lying. So why? Why is everyone lying? Why not just say, look, it's outrageous that Russia did this, and we like Ukraine better. We're going to support Ukraine. Fine. Why go the extra step to tell us that Ukraine is a model democracy when it's not at all? Why are they doing that? Maybe because Ukraine now has exactly the sort of democracy they'd like to see here in the United States. They hate to think that could be true. It's scary to think that's true. But ask yourself, play this word game. If they could find a, quote, national security pretext for it, a war, for example.
Well, and I understand the point of this video, that Tucker brings it again to the topic of the left, pushing, more strict rules on people. I support that, we shouldn't put all these restrictions that some people on the left want to put. We should have freedom here. We're free people. We should be able to express our opinions that disagree with the people on the other aisle, right? I agree with that. I fully agree with that. The only thing that I'm saying is, with the case of Ukraine, there's a war, and there are people who are directly working with Russia, collaborating with Russia, basically working against the national security of the country. That's a different case. And I don't think that here people in America would allow that either. So why are we doing all of this? Our hearts are being broken when we see any lies spread. But especially at this time, it really hurts to see the lies about Ukraine being spread. That hurts our families, our friends, and Ukrainian citizens overall. We are strong proponents of being the seekers of truth. So let's not just believe what is comfortable or what is said by the people that we trust. Let's seek the truth, and the truth will set you free. And the ultimate truth is that God loves you. Jesus came and died in your place for your sins. And then he rose from the dead so that one day you can rise from the dead when time comes. Let's not waste our time and set the goal to be the truth seekers. Thank you. Hey, I didn't expect you to watch till the end of this video. Hey, I just want to give a big shout out to my wife for shooting and producing this video. Do us a favor, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, smash the like button, and tell us what you think in the comment section. And hey, in the description, you can see the links on how you can help support Ukraine.